Well, hello everybody, and welcome to SteamFeed TV episode. This is actually episode 11.1, since we had technical difficulties last week. So we're calling this episode 11.1. We want to welcome everybody. We have three great topics tonight. But before we do that, I want to do one thing real quick. Remember, it's coming up. It's September 8th through the 11th. It's Content Marketing World, and it's going to be at Cleveland Convention Center this year. Make sure when you register that you use the discount code SteamFeed.com. Actually, just SteamFeed, not SteamFeed.com. If you use capital S, capital F, SteamFeed, you will get $100 off your registration, and we're proud to be a sponsor of that, and hopefully you will all go. So with that being said, we want to say hello to Randy, Jen, Jeff, and Greg. Brooke is taking a leave of absence, but she'll be back. So we wanted to say hello to everybody. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing well.
Glad to be here.
Fantastic.
All right, yeah, that was enthusiastic.
That was a fantastic, Jeff.
It was.
That was fantastic.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and jump in because we got some interesting stuff to talk about tonight. The first thing we wanted to talk about tonight, and one of these I'm just going to say the title and kind of throw it out there like meat to wolves in a room, in a den. So, but this I wanted to talk about, we're going to be talking about the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. Now, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge obviously is to raise awareness for ALS. One of the things that's interesting about this challenge is that they have far surpassed last year's goals. You know, what they raised last year. They're above 60 million from the last I read. And I don't see any immediate slowing down of this challenge. It seems to be going crazy. But what I wanted to talk with the panel about was, when this first came out, there was a lot of talk about slacktivism and how this wasn't really going to help. And I think, was this a learning situation for some of us? Was this something that we all looked back? I know I looked back and said, wow, this has really got legs. So I'm going to throw that one out there, and whoever wants to start, let's talk about this.
All right, so I was really skeptical about this whole thing. I share the whole slacktivism idea that there was really not much to this other than just a bunch of people being, self-absorbed and saying, "Hey, look at me! Look how cool I am." But I think, as it's been going on, I think that there's been a lot of awareness raised for this. My issue with it, really, though, has to do with I think there are a ton of other things that could be, given a lot of play here that maybe aren't. I read a really cool article. It was an infographic that sort of showed the disparity between, how much money ALS has been received versus how much it actually kills people. And then where heart disease is like a huge major killer, it actually is not getting as much, play in the media or as much funding, for research for that kind of thing. So, I mean, I'm not saying that one is better than the other, or one disease or one, organization should get more play than the other. I'm just saying that I think it's cool. It's lasted a lot longer than I thought, but I think we all have to sort of keep in mind that there's a whole lot more out there.
I think that it's a learning lesson, Jerry. I think that really, I shared with Jeff some concerns about when it initially started, and there you go. But the learning thing is that's how these little nuggets start, and they catch fire, and they might simmer a while and roll on, or they might blow out in 2 days. But it's a powerful thing that happened. It's kind of like the Oreo cookie when that happened.
Okay.
These little snippets come along, and they happen. Now, like I said, I was a little skeptical at first, and I thought, well, because I do think early on, and we talked about it, I think, exchanged something maybe in our forum that, there was some kids doing it just to, they were doing the dunk, but no donations. And I think that how that message kind of shifted at some point in time, kind of early on, it shifted, and people said, hey, I'm doing this, but I'm also giving X amount of dollars whatever.
It was
So you
almost
have to say it's been a
where-
grand success and a learning thing.
Yeah, there was almost a point where it changed. You're right, where it was expected. Don't just do this, but also donate.
And to Jeff's point about, certainly there's plenty of causes out there that we're all touched by and things like that. One of our panel members is very, I mean, each of us have some kind of connection with something out there, but it's first to the trough. So you can't, I mean, can heart disease or heart association, can they, you know, it's up to them to develop some kind of little gimmick and see if it takes root.
That was actually what that's what I've been thinking a lot about. I thought about a few things the past couple of days about this. First of all, I thought it was really kind of interesting that this started from two people who didn't have any association with any ALS organization whatsoever. It was, so I think that was one of the most interesting things. I often wonder if this was an ALS organization of whatever, of wherever, some sort of affiliation or almost corporate backing, would this have been the success that it was? And then the other thing that I've often thought about is, you know, when these high-powered charities get back to their meetings in September, October, they're all going. I can just imagine everyone sitting in a conference room saying, "What's our ice bucket challenge? Go!" You know, and so over the next 6 months, I just envision my entire Facebook wall full of advertising for everything under the sun. You know, like, you know, they're all going to be advertising, and then my friends are going to be getting me to do a bunch of different things, and you know, that's like that's my great vision over the next year for my Facebook wall.
Concern that everybody's now going to start commercializing it. Word. I'm sure you've got something.
I think the success of this thing was the fact that it wasn't commercial at all. That it was a couple of guys, kids, what were they, 25, 27, 28 years old, who kind of just started this. But when, let's say, and I'm just throwing a charity out there. You know what? I won't even throw it out there. But when a more of a corporate charity, and we all know who they are, is going to come up with this, you know, they're going to commercialize it. It's going to be advertising. It's going to be more formalized videos. They're going to hire a marketing agency or whoever to put all this together. And it's just, and my wall is going to be inundated with this stuff. And so, yeah.
So Jen, tell us what's going through your head.
Well, I mean, I obviously I support anything that helps ALS because I have a friend who has ALS, and I think that's good. It makes me sad that I believe what is fueling the takeoff of the Ice Bucket Challenge is inherent narcissism. Because we want, and there's a lot of topping it, the best Ice Bucket Challenge ever, or the Ice Bucket Challenge bloopers, or watch a celebrity do it, and it's really driven by showing people you doing this thing. And people are really driven by that, first and foremost, than they are giving to a charity. And what I find really perplexing is, you know, this work 3 weeks in, and it seems like this next layer is people's kids are being challenged by other kids, and then we are generating social proof for a whole generation of people who have no social profiles. So we're filming those, and we're uploading them to our own channels, and then we're tagging those kids as parents, saying, now we've tagged your kid to the challenge. I mean, do you see how odd that is, that we've created a whole network of giving in spectacle, in public, to show our children that things are cool if other people see it and share it, and that's what makes something important. It's not about teaching your kid about giving money to a charity, because God knows any family could do that with their kid tomorrow. It really is about teaching people that it's about the spectacle and showing of yourself being an interesting, compassionate person rather than just being an interesting and compassionate person.
I wonder how many of the actual people that did the challenge, put it in the space, know who Lou Gehrig is.
No, I saw a girl who did it, and then she went, "Woo, ALS!" Like. Yeah. Like it was a sport.
But at the same time, you can't deny that it raised over $60 million.
Yeah, that's what I said, Jerry. You can't. It's one of those things. Jennifer brings up a great point That, I mean, you know, I guarantee you it became, hey, like she said, how can I top you? My bulldozer with the bucket on it is bigger than that bulldozer. You know, I saw some guy sit in front of some cement truck that pumped out like 5,000 gallons of water on him. He put on a hard hat, and he said, you know, it was a fire department.
There's a guy who got injured, they reported today, where a whole bunch of them got underneath a plane drop, a helicopter drop, where they dropped a bucket of water, and one guy got injured. I mean, but at the same time, I think that actually is a whole separate. I think what you bring up, Jen, is a really good. What are we teaching our kids with this kind of stuff? And is it something that we need to worry about because it's just a cultural change for the next generation coming up? Again, we keep coming back to that. That's interesting.
I would like to, before you move on to the next topic, another point of what Jeff brought up about ALS was comparing to some other major players out there. I mean, if you think about it, some of those have charities working inside of every community, Relays for Life and things like that, and ALS really didn't have any kind of known fundraising platform. So it is a major boost that would allow a needed organization to get some traction going.
And I certainly hope that Greg is not correct, although I fear he is, that now we're seeing the United Way ice bucket challenge and the.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna have the Susan. Well, I was gonna say Susan G. Cohn, but at least they have the race already, so maybe they'll spare us. But
no, they're gonna dump bras on their heads.
Yeah. How many bras could you wear for your race?
Let's talk about the 4-year-old in Florida who apparently 4-year-old in Florida. Mother, he's in preschool. The mother was not happy with the way the class picture information was sent out, and sent out a post on Facebook tagging, I will say tagging, the school, and saying she was unhappy with the way they're running the school. And to make things a little bit more, let's throw some more in the soup. This was a Christian school. So this is one I'm just going to throw it out there. You guys jump on it.
It's BS. I mean, you know, it's just totally BS to do that. Especially the kids' involvement is just so far over the top. It's not even. I mean, I just don't. It's just an overreach in things that you're seeing today happen about things. I mean, the lady has a right to voice a public opinion about something. I mean, that's so what, you know. And to punish a child that doesn't even understand that's totally ridiculous.
I asked my daughter about this tonight at dinner, and she said if I did that I would be required to apologize to the school, and I would also lose my internet privileges for the day.
Your daughter would have to do that, or you would have to do that?
I would lose privileges because I did that, and I would have to apologize.
Well, there's a difference between a 4-year-old and a teenager, though.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, you know, they can do that. I mean, they're paying to go to that school. I think they overreacted, but I think that's something that they certainly can do. And I think she learned a little bit about Facebook and privacy, which is really important to do. So you know, was it an overreaction and probably in poor form? Totally. It's like many of the things we talk about. It's their right to do that. It's sad that the kid gets hurt in the process, and I hope that kid tells his mom that she loses her internet privileges for a week.
It's just a gross overreaction by the school's part. I mean, you know, to me, and especially it doesn't matter whether it's Christian school or whatever platform that was. If they saw that, and I don't know the backstory, but to invite her in, you know, the headmaster or the principal or whoever runs the place, and have a conversation before you do something like that.
Yeah.
It's about it's an education, right? It's about education. Is that it? What is that? That's you know, that's a good point.
Greg, jump in.
You know what? For kicks, I'm actually going to take a contrarian point of view, Randy. And not that I don't think it was an overreaction. I do, but I kind of think that they are a business and they had an unhappy customer. If Actually, I had an unhappy customer just a couple of weeks ago that I quote unquote fired, and when I told my friends and colleagues that I fired my pain in the ass unhappy customer, then I got a whole lot of kudos for that. Good for you, And granted, the difference is there wasn't a 4-year-old involved and all that other stuff, but I mean, but the parent is really the customer, not the child, because the parent is the one who's paying that tuition. So I mean, they did what they thought they would have to do. It sounded like there was a little bit more to the story than just one Facebook post. It sounded like there was a lot of complaining, and eventually they just got sick of it. So
let me ask you, what does the panel think about where is the line between, okay, well, this person's complaint was, we'll digest that, but this person's complaint, we're not dealing with it. Who makes the call?
I don't think it has to do with the quote unquote level of complaint. It's, can I make this person, as a business, can I make this customer happy, or can I make this person happy?
But this isn't
if this person keeps
a 4-year-old.
if this person keeps if this person continues to complain over and over again, then clearly they're not a fit for me. Their child is not a fit for my school, or they're not a fit for my business, whatever it is. They're not a fit for me, and at some point, it's just not worth it for me to serve that child anymore.
Is your business, is a school a business?
This one is, yeah. They make money. They charge money, absolutely. If it was a public school, I'd have a huge problem with it, but it's not. It's a private school.
Most Christian schools are nonprofit. They're not making any money. They're getting.
Well, right, but that nonprofit has the right. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry, nonprofit or whatever it is, they still have the right to determine who they take money from. They always have that right.
They're not taking probably kids of other religious affiliations, like
correct. But if they don't like that Christian family, then they have every right not to take money from that Christian family.
But did they do that? Let me ask you, did they say, okay, customer A, we just don't seem to be able to go down the same road.
Well,
we'll find you another school.
Randy, I agree with you 100%. I would have called them in and said,
Jeff, you haven't said a word, and we need to make sure that Jeff gets. And I can see by the smirk on his face, he's got something serious to say, or smartass, which is here.
What would Jesus do?
Ooh.
I don't know. At first, I was fuming. I was pretty pissed off at this whole thing because, yeah, it's a 4-year-old sort of taking the brunt of the school's anger at his mom. But the more that I've been thinking about it, we don't know the whole story. And
right.
If you look at the article that I saw, most of them are on Fox affiliates, and we know how awesome Fox is at sharing every detail of the whole story. And I just don't know if I have enough background. I mean, is there a history between the school and the mom? We don't know that. This could have been the last straw for the school. Maybe she had continually been a problem for this school. And so if this was the last straw for them, I think that they would have every right to say, look, we're kind of done. We're over having you here. We choose not to take your money anymore, like Greg said.
We talked about that in the green room. I saw some stuff on the Facebook thread that one of the parents said, hey, my kids go to school here. This isn't the whole story.
Yeah.
But they left it at that, so you don't know if this wasn't the whole story. The school's jerk or the parent is a jerk. Very
yeah. So in this type of thing, I think I like to sort of reserve judgment on it because it has two really big components to the story. One, it has a school, which is a big deal, and that's sort of a very polarizing institution, and then you have that it's a Christian school, which is another hugely polarizing issue. And so I think, if I'm going to form an opinion, I really kind of would like to see everything that's going on. That's why I'm sort of reserving judgment. But honestly, this is a bad PR move on the school's part. I think that, they don't owe us anything. They don't owe us a huge explanation. They don't. But I think from a PR move, I think it would be a good idea for them to say, hey, look, we're not a bunch of Christian dicks like a lot of other Christian schools are. And here's, can we have a conversation about it and at least, reflect Christ properly and not, be like a lot of other churches and they're just tools. So
you were listening in on the green room conversation, apparently.
I wasn't even there, man.
Oh, goodness. Well, we have about 7 minutes left, so let's move on to. No, I'm not going to say that. Let's move on to Google. Google has Google. Oh, that was just great. I love you, Jeff. Jeff, Google has entered authorship, and that means a lot of things to a lot of people. And as Greg mentioned in the green room, it means nothing to some people. So that's another one I'm just going to kind of throw out there. And for those of you that are concerned about it or have an issue with it, let's talk about it, and then let's hear from those that don't think it's going to make a difference either way.
I spoke at a conference of magazine publishers, so a lot of people who write for a living. And the first year I spoke at the conference, 2 years ago, I mentioned Google authorship, and I said this makes sense for you, especially if you're a freelance writer and you're writing for multiple magazines. You should establish this so that you're getting your picture showing up next to your articles and that sort of thing. And then I spoke again this last year, and I asked the audience, many of whom were repeat people that came to my session last year, how many people had done this or were doing this, and maybe 2 people in the entire audience raised their hand. And I really do think I had a lot of trouble setting that up because my Google profile is tied to one email, my website is tied to a different email, and my all my G+ stuff means my Google account stuff was complicated. So it was very, very difficult for me to set up, and I never actually even succeeded in setting it up. So I'm not surprised. People who deal in social and live their lives online, and people who are writers, if these people aren't managing to pull it off, it doesn't give me a lot of hope for your average user that they would have been able to pull it off. So it's sad, but
I think the lights will come on when I turn my switch over there on the wall, and the sun will come up in the morning. So I don't really think it's going to make a big ripple. I mean, it's another one of those Google kick the stool out from under you or something, and next month it'll be another. Well, we tried this. I think Google always thinks they know what the consumer or those that operate in the sphere want, or they want to direct what people want. And when they find out, like what Jennifer just said, because that's what they found out, that nobody was really paying attention to it, and they went, well, let's just drop that. And,
was nobody paying attention to it because it was too difficult? Should they have gone back?
I think there's 2 elements there. One, it's Google, and people just don't like Google. I mean, that's the one I'm going to say first. The second would be what Jennifer shared, is it was problematic to get it set up unless you were really trying to do that. A freelance writer, somebody that makes a living writing like that, does not have the technical savvy to do those type things typically. So they have to have somebody to do it, and they're not going to pay for somebody to do it.
I don't know. I mean, I think Google has a habit of doing this stuff. I mean, do you remember Wave? The whole precursor to Google Plus. I mean, they do this. They try innovating some stuff. They try coming up with a product. They decide it doesn't work, and they move on to something else. I mean, the thing about Google is that they do a lot of that publicly. They do some internal testing, but they use their Google users as their guinea pig, as their beta testers for stuff.
And they have the money to do that.
Yeah, so they tried this for 3 years. It was they might say it was live, but maybe it was just a huge beta test, and they realized, okay, this sucks, we'll move on to something else. It's not that I don't care. It's just, Google just does this stuff, and nobody should really be surprised, and it shouldn't really affect anybody because, with all of their other back-end algorithm stuff, people are still going to be able to, 1, get their customized search query results, and 2, the people who are authors of certain articles are still going to get their accreditation or their association to that particular piece in if the article and the site has been optimized properly with their meta tags and their keywords. So they're still going to have that association there, if regardless. I think
that's a good point. Jeff, you had some interesting stuff to say in the green room.
Greg.
Oh, me. Jeff. So I'm one of those people who didn't really care. I never really set up my Google Plus, my Google authorship or anything like that. And I think it kind of just boiled down to this. I've been very lucky in that I get a steady stream of customers and clients, and to be honest with you, it just never really even occurred to me to do it.
Did you try?
No, I never tried. It never really occurred. You know what? I think if I was absolutely struggling and I was like always concerned about my next paycheck or my next customer, where it was coming from, I absolutely positively would have tried it. But I've been blessed and fortunate enough that hasn't been the case. And so it kind of came to the point where this do I really need this? And the answer was no. I kind of heard that it was a little bit of a pain in the butt to set up. And I never even looked into it. I just felt like there was other ways and more profitable ways to sort of to get customers or to get new gigs or clients or whatever. I'd rather spend 5 hours working on a guest post byline than spend 5 hours trying to set up my Plus authorship.
So it seems like the whole panel kind of looked at it and said, well, it wasn't really all that great anyway. Doesn't sound like anybody really put that much effort into it and put all that much weight on it anyway. Is that correct?
I thought it was a nice trend to try to weed out the wheat from the chaff and to try to help identify people who had some legitimacy in being a thought leader in a particular topic. And I did give credence to those people when they'd come up in searches. I was clicking through to see who those people were. And like Jeff's saying, that could have come up in a natural, organic search as well. But I think any effort to kind of get away from black hat tactics where people are just trying to game it and kind of pull themselves off as experts in whatever, versus people who are legitimate thought leaders in a particular subject and they write about it a lot. I really want to be able to find that content, and it is increasingly difficult to find that content. So, the article that I had shared with you guys, they said, we'll maybe see this in some form down the road, because that's still a problem, finding the good content written by people who have chops to write about that. That's still a problem that we have. Authorship was not the answer to that, but any way that they can start to help refine that, I think that's their goal kind of in the long run always, is to get you the quality goods, not just the goods that have our stuff with the most keywords.
Excellent. Well, we're about out of time, folks, and I just want to remind everybody that next week is SteamFeed Radio on Wednesday at 7 p.m., and my guests will be Mark Schaefer, Brooke Ballard, Daniel Hebert, and actually we'll be hearing from, but not in person, from Ryan Cox as well. And we'll be talking about Mark's list that came out recently. All three of those people were on the list, and we'll be talking to Mark about what brought up the inspiration for the list and what impact it had on those that were on the list. So hopefully we'll be hearing from Jason Ping too, which is he's also a SteamFeed author. So we're looking forward to that. And I want to thank the panel once again for giving me some great insight, and I learn something every time, and I laugh, and that's what it's all about. And I think, Jen, the key came out with your last statement was, we're all out here looking for quality content. We're looking for the people that really are thought leaders and understand this stuff, and that's what we're looking for. So any way we can find it better, all the best, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.